Hey man, when most men hear "give a woman butterflies," they immediately picture grand gestures, flowers at her doorstep, expensive dinners, or love notes tucked into her bag. But here's the truth that no one tells you. Those things might make her smile, but they rarely make her feel. Real butterflies aren't triggered by predictable romance. They're triggered by moments that catch her off guard, when her mind isn't ready for them and her body reacts before her brain can analyze the situation. They come from a subtle word, a certain glance, an unexpected silence that forces her to replay the moment in her head over and over. And the most powerful thing about these moments is that they are innocent. They don't require manipulation, they don't require money, and they don't require you to compromise your masculine frame. They come from a deep understanding of female psychology, not from trying to buy her emotions. The first way is controlled attention. This doesn't mean ignoring her entirely, nor does it mean giving her constant validation. It's the art of giving her a moment of total, undivided focus, then pulling it away before she fully expects it. You might be at a social event, barely acknowledging her in the crowd, then suddenly making direct, steady eye contact across the room for 3 seconds before looking away. No smile, no smirk, just that piercing acknowledgement that says "I see you," without demanding anything in return. That small burst of awareness will linger in her chest far longer than a compliment ever could, because it's rare, it's specific, and it's given by choice, not obligation. The second way is micro-teasing. This isn't about insults or disrespect. It's about playfully challenging her in ways that suggest you're not intimidated by her beauty or charm. If she tells you about a skill she has, you might respond, "Prove it, I don't believe you." If she's dressed up, you might say, "So this is your attempt at impressing me? Not bad." The key is to keep it light, delivered with a calm, grounded energy, not an over-the-top smirk or fake arrogance. Playful pushback triggers attraction because it's the opposite of what most men do. Most men, when they like a woman, try to impress her. By subtly making her try to impress you, you flip the power dynamic and make her feel the thrill of pursuit. The third way is slowing down physical escalation. Most men rush. They meet a woman, they feel attraction, and they're desperate to make something physical happen as quickly as possible. But if you're deliberate, if you're close enough for her to feel the heat of your body, close enough for your voice to drop, and for her to smell your cologne, yet you don't immediately close the gap, it creates a delicious tension. She becomes hyper-aware of your proximity, of the way her heart rate increases, of the way her breathing changes. You're not denying her, you're allowing the anticipation to build, and that anticipation is where butterflies live. It's in the space before the touch, not in the touch itself. The fourth way is unexpected silence. Most men talk too much when they're attracted to a woman. They try to fill every gap with words, jokes, or stories. But if you can sit across from her, lock eyes for a few seconds, then lean back and just not speak, you force her to feel the moment. Silence is powerful because it demands presence. Her mind will race. What is he thinking? Why isn't he saying anything? Is he bored? Is he interested? That swirl of uncertainty, paired with your calm demeanor, creates an irresistible emotional pull. The absence of noise becomes louder than any line you could have rehearsed, and in that space, her imagination will create scenarios that make her feel more than anything you could have said. The fifth way is light, unplanned touch. I'm not talking about anything over or invasive. This is the accidental brush of your hand against hers when you're reaching for something, the way your fingers graze her lower back as you guide her through a doorway, or the casual way your knee bumps hers when you shift in your seat. These moments aren't about claiming her, they're about letting her body register you without fanfare. Touch, when subtle and brief, works on a subconscious level, bypassing the part of her mind that analyzes everything and going straight to the part that feels dumb. It's not what you do, it's the fact that you do it with zero neediness, like it just happened naturally, as if your presence is so comfortable and self-assured that touch is simply an extension of the space you occupy. The sixth way is delayed gratification in conversation. This is the art of starting to tell her something intriguing, then intentionally leaving it unfinished. You might say, "You know, something happened to me last week that you'd find interesting," and then pause, get distracted, or let the moment pass without finishing. She'll lean in mentally, desperate for the rest of the story. That lingering gap plants itself in her mind and becomes a mental itch she can't scratch. The next time you talk, she'll remember. And it's in that remembering, in her thinking about you while you're not there, that the butterflies multiply. Most men give women everything up front. By holding something back, you make her work for it, and that work creates investment. The seventh way is rare and deliberate compliments. The problem with most men is they compliment constantly, and in doing so, they cheapen their words. But if you're selective, if you go days or weeks without offering one, then drop a compliment that's specific and real. It will hit her like a shockwave. Instead of "you look nice," it might be "the way you wore your hair today makes you look dangerous. I like it." That's not just flattery, it's imagery, it's intrigue, it's personalized, it feels earned. And because she knows you don't hand out praise like candy, the fact that you chose to give her one means more than 1,000 generic "you're so beautiful" lines ever could. The eighth way is breaking patterns. Most men, once they have a woman's attention, fall into predictable routines. Same text, same greetings, same tone. But if one day you suddenly switch it up, if you're usually lighthearted and then one day you greet her with a calm, slow, almost commanding tone, it jolts her senses. It forces her to recalibrate her understanding of you, to ask herself, who is this side of him? That unpredictability is intoxicating because it reminds her that she hasn't fully figured you out, and a man she can't fully figure out is a man who stays in her thoughts day and night. The ninth way is controlled withdrawal. If you've been giving her attention, engaging in conversation, making her laugh, and then without explanation, you pull back just slightly, she'll notice. Not ghosting, not ignoring, just easing the energy down and creating space. Maybe you take longer to reply. Maybe you end a conversation while she's still engaged. This makes her feel the absence of your presence, and that absence hits harder because it comes after she's tasted your full attention. It's like pulling a blanket away on a cold night. It makes her appreciate the warmth you brought, and it compels her to reach out for it again. The 10th way is sharing a secret in a way that feels accidental. This isn't about revealing your deepest trauma or oversharing personal history. It's about letting her feel like she has access to a part of you the rest of the world doesn't see. You might lower your voice mid-conversation and say something like, "Most people don't know this about me," and then share something intriguing, mysterious, or charmingly human. Not too heavy, just enough to make her feel chosen. The psychology here is simple. When someone feels like they're being trusted with something special, their mind assigns more value to the person sharing it. And when it comes from a man who otherwise carries himself as strong, independent, and somewhat reserved, the contrast hits harder. It's the paradox of being both unshakable and selectively vulnerable that plants those butterflies deep in her stomach. Now, here's where most men mess this up. They think that doing these things is about getting her or manipulating her into liking them. But the real power behind these innocent moments is that they're authentic expressions of your masculine frame. You're not doing them because you want something from her. You're doing them because that's just who you are, and that's why they work. Women are experts at detecting when a man's actions are motivated by neediness, validation seeking, or hidden agendas. But when you give her a look, a touch, a pause, or a tease, simply because you feel like it, not because you're fishing for a reaction, she can't help but feel it more deeply. The lack of expectation in your actions is what makes them so magnetic. Another thing to understand is that butterflies aren't born from logic. You can't reason a woman into attraction. You can't list all your good qualities and hope she'll suddenly feel that electric pull toward you. Butterflies are born from moments, from sensations, from small shifts in energy that bypass the logical mind and go straight to the emotional core. That's why the most powerful ways to give her butterflies are often the smallest things that leave space for her to fill with her own imagination. Because in that space, she doesn't just think about you. She starts creating a version of you in her mind that's even more compelling than reality, and that imagined version becomes addictive. The truth is, giving a woman butterflies has nothing to do with being nice or perfect. In fact, those traits often kill attraction because they make you predictable. Butterflies thrive on uncertainty, not the toxic, chaotic kind that comes from being unreliable or disrespectful, but the kind that comes from knowing you're grounded, you're stable, yet you're also not entirely available for her to figure out. That balance, being dependable, but not fully known, is what keeps her heart racing when your name pops up on her phone, or when she catches herself thinking about you in the middle of the day. It's the feeling of, what is he going to do next, that keeps the butterflies alive. And here's the deeper secret. Women remember the men who gave them butterflies long after the relationship, the fling, or the interaction is over. They won't always remember what you said. They won't always remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And if you are the man who knew how to ignite those small, innocent moments that made her pulse quicken and her mind wander, she will never truly forget you. Even if she moves on, Even if she's with someone else, the memory of the way you made her feel will live rent-free in her mind. That's why the most powerful form of attraction isn't physical, it's emotional and psychological. It's not about her liking you, it's about her feeling you in a way she can't shake. Once you understand that attraction is more about what she feels when you're not there than what she experiences in the moment, everything changes. These small, innocent actions aren't just about creating a spark, they're about planting a seed. When you pull back after making her laugh, when you walk away after a brief, charged moment of eye contact, when you leave her hanging mid-story, you're creating emotional echoes. These echoes fill the silence in your absence, replaying in her mind over and over. She doesn't consciously decide to think about you, it just happens. Her brain associates your presence with that little hit of dopamine, with that strange mix of curiosity and excitement, and it starts craving it the way someone craves another sip of a drink that surprised them with its flavor. This is the invisible hook most men will never understand. The real danger for most men is that they overplay their hand. They think, if one of these moments worked, imagine if I gave her 20 of them in a row. But this is like trying to force a plant to grow by dumping buckets of water on it. It doesn't work. The power of giving a woman butterflies lies in the spacing. It's the rhythm between the moments, the pauses, the absence, the unpredictability that creates tension, and tension is the lifeblood of attraction. If she can predict every move you'll make, the tension dies and so do the butterflies. The great mistake men make is thinking attraction is about constantly doing more, when in reality it's about doing less, but doing it with precision, intent, and patience. Here's the thing women will never openly tell you. They don't just want to feel good around you, they want to feel something. That's why they're drawn to men who can give them emotional highs and lows, even if those moments are small and subtle. A teasing comment, followed by a warm smile, a sudden shift from playful to serious, a brief withdrawal after a moment of closeness. These are micro contrasts, and they make her nervous system light up. When you understand this, you stop thinking like the average guy who's trying to constantly be agreeable, and you start thinking like the man who knows that space, contrast, and unpredictability are the real aphrodisiacs. This is why women often find themselves obsessing over men who never seem to try with them. She'll talk about how mysterious he was, how she never quite knew where she stood with him, how he made her laugh, but never tried to win her over. What she's really describing is a man who understood, whether consciously or instinctively, that his value didn't depend on her approval. That's what made every small interaction feel bigger. That's what made her stomach flip when she saw his name. That's what made her replay moments in her head, weeks or months later. She wasn't addicted to him, she was addicted to the feeling he gave her. The irony is that most men are capable of giving women butterflies. They just sabotage themselves by smothering her with attention, trying to speed up the process, or making the whole thing about her reaction, instead of their own authentic presence. But when you live your life with purpose, keep your own mystery intact, and let these moments happen naturally, you stop chasing butterflies in her and start becoming the source of them. And once you're that source, you don't have to think about keeping her interested or making her like you. She's already hooked because she's already invested in chasing that feeling you've created. And here's the brutal truth. The man who gives her butterflies will almost always have more of an effect on her than the man who gives her stability without passion. She may choose stability on paper, she may settle down with the safe guy eventually, but the memory of the man who made her pulse race will never leave her. This is why women sometimes sabotage perfect relationships, because perfect is predictable, and predictable is the enemy of desire. You, as a man, have to decide whether you're going to be the one she remembers or the one she forgets, the moment someone else comes along with a little more fire. Over time, the butterflies you give her can evolve into something deeper, but only if you keep the balance. If you give too much of yourself too soon, the mystery evaporates. If you withhold too much, she may lose interest altogether. The art lies in always leaving a little unsaid, a little undone, a little unknown. The best seducers throughout history understood this. They were masters of tension, pacing, and timing. They didn't flood women with constant validation, nor did they disappear entirely. They danced in that middle ground where she was never fully certain of what came next, and that uncertainty kept her alive with anticipation. This also explains why women will sometimes go out of their way to create situations where they can accidentally run into you, message you for something trivial, or start conversations that go nowhere. They're not doing it because they need the thing they're asking about. They're doing it because they want to reopen that channel of emotion. They want another hit of that feeling you gave them without fully admitting it to themselves. That's when you know the butterflies have done their work. You've become part of her emotional landscape, and she's now trying to maintain the connection herself. The real win for you is this. When you master the art of giving a woman butterflies without trying too hard, you not only create attraction, you command respect. Because somewhere deep down, she knows that you're not desperate for her approval, that you're not bending over backward to keep her. That awareness changes the dynamic completely. It makes her view you as a man of abundance, a man who chooses rather than chases, a man whose attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. And that respect makes the butterflies even stronger, because she realizes she can't take you for granted. So, if you truly want to give a woman butterflies in a way that makes her crave you, remember this: it's not about grand gestures, it's not about over-the-top romance, and it's definitely not about constant reassurance. It's about small intentional moments that let her feel the spark without smothering her in it. It's about living in your masculine frame so fully that every interaction drips with authenticity, presence, and just enough unpredictability to keep her on edge. Because the man who can make a woman feel deeply while still keeping her guessing is the man she will never fully get over. And once you understand that truth, you'll never again waste your time overcompensating, because you'll know the secret. In the game of attraction, less done right will always be more.